What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Well, welcome if it's your first time here. You know, when we're prepping, we're always trying to figure out, and we're always thinking about the what ifs. What if this happens? What if this happens and then this happens? Or this, and then this happens? And we're always trying to plan and figure out the best way to prepare for the what ifs. And it's pretty much like a guessing game. You know, you can look at history, you can look at other nations and things that's had similar crashes to what we envision us having here in the United States, but it's not going to be, you know, the exact same thing. Nothing ever is. History does repeat itself, but it's never really exact for every individual around the world. It's going to be a little bit different for everyone. But one thing that people don't think a lot about and ask what ifs is their neighbors. How will their neighbors act? What will their neighbors do? And it's extremely important to try to figure this out, because if you have, you know, bad neighbors, it can make your life miserable now, but it can also make your life a death sentence if something really, really bad does happen and everything does break down. However, you know, if you do have, if you're lucky, one of the lucky ones, and have a good neighbor, or good neighbors even better, that actually is a good person, who actually is prepared, and who will actually be an asset, then you're definitely well ahead of most people, because most people's neighbors aren't prepping, they aren't reliable, and you know, depending on the situation and the severity of that will determine, you know, how they react during a situation. If it's a slight economic downturn, like economic, you know, recession or something like that, or even economic depression, your neighbors might still be okay. However, it's a complete grid down situation, and the food is cut off, power is cut off, electricity is cut off, something like a major EMP or nuclear attack or something like that, that wipes pretty much everything out, then more than likely your neighbors is going to be not an asset, it's going to be a threat to you and your family. Hopefully that's not the case, but like I said, most people's neighbors aren't prepping, they aren't doing anything to get ready, and they will try to take what you have, more than likely. And you know, one of the first things that they would probably do is they would come over and ask you how you were doing, just to feel things out and see what you were doing, try to figure out, to do some reconnaissance, to try to figure out what's the best way to, you know, attack your position, take your things, because you've prepared, and they haven't. But how do you know, if your neighbors are prepared or not? Like I said, most aren't, so in all likelihood, your neighbors probably aren't prepared. They probably don't have 3 days worth of food in their home. They probably don't know any survival skills. They probably don't garden or anything like that. And that's something we need to think about and try to figure out now before we have to make the decisions of what to do. If you take a look at your neighbors, and it's pretty easy to tell if your neighbors are prepping or not, if they're preppers or not, just by looking at, outside their home. If they are putting in gardens, they have chickens, they have greenhouses and things like that, then you know that they're probably interested in homesteading, self-reliance, and quite possibly prepping. However, if you look across your yard or across the road and see your neighbors over there, and their grass is all grown up, they have no gardens, no chickens, have 20 dogs tied to different trees and things like that, they have junk on in the yard, they up all hours of the night, radios, boom, 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 screaming, hollering, fighting in the streets and things like that with their wives and their kids and stuff, then more than likely those people are going to definitely be a threat to your survival in a complete, total grid down type situation, and then quite possibly even an economic downturn, because they're trying to steal your stuff to take that to a pawn shop and sell that, because they're trying to make ends meet, and their welfare and disability check and their food stamps isn't quite making the cut any longer, keeping them in the lifestyle, sleeping all day pretty much, and playing video games all day that they are used to. So they will come over and try to case your home out and steal your stuff and take that to the pawn shop and sell that. And one of the things they like to steal the most is guns and tools, especially chainsaws and things like that, because they can pawn those quite easily or sell those to someone else and get a quick buck. But you need to look at your neighbors and ask yourself, what if this happens? What if it's economic downturn? Are we going to be okay as far as the neighbors go? Is it going to be economic collapse? And what will happen if that's the case? Is there going to be an EMP that knocks everything out? If that's the case, how will your neighbors react? Will they be an asset or will they be a threat to you? And like I said, you can tell a lot just by talking to your neighbors and see how they align politically, but that definitely isn't, the be-all and end-all of trying to figure out what your neighbors will actually do. But you can look at how they live. Look at their property. Is it well kept up? Do they keep the grass mowed? Do they keep the leaves cleaned off? Do they take pride in their home and taking care of that? Do they have, a large garden? Do they have chickens? Maybe they have cattle, goats, and things like that. If they do, then it's not a guarantee that they're prepping, but it's a good possibility that they actually are. For example, up from where I live, there was a home for sale. It was for sale about 6 months before someone actually bought that. And I think it's someone from out of town. Well, they bought this home moved in probably about 3 or 4 months ago. And they started immediately building a chicken coop, getting chickens. And I saw they have a chicken tractor they built. They have put in a greenhouse. They're trying to work on having a larger garden in the area, in their yard there where they moved to, where they bought the property at. So it's obvious that they moved here for safety and for self-reliance. However, they're right beside, a main traffic route, and everyone passing by is looking over there and seeing that, and they know, if they have any brain at all, that these people are trying to be more prepared. And that's unfortunate, because I hate to see someone that tries to be prepared and make themselves a huge target. I'm doing the same thing here on YouTube, unfortunately. But I look at this as a way to get more people prepared and help more people and help more people in my community, and to build, a more supportive network here where I am, with people who watch these videos and contact me and things like that, and meet me in public and things. I try to fill those people out and try to figure out, how these people are and how they believe, and if they're going to be an asset or not. But you need to look at your neighbors and look very, very closely, not with rose-colored glasses on, and don't think, well, if they act up, I'll just shoot them, because that might not be the best option. It usually ain't the best option, and a lot of people feel that way, though, and they think that's what they're going to do. However, not every situation warrants taking someone's life. Very few actually do, and it should be, a last resort, in my opinion, because you have the moral dilemmas of doing that and the aftermath of that, and there will be legal aftermath with that, unless there's a complete breakdown of the system and the government collapses, law enforcement collapses, the courts collapse, and everything like that, which more than likely that's not going to happen. More than likely we will see crime go up, we will have a severe economic downturn, an over-oppressive government. We could go into World War III, and it could go nuclear, so who knows, how bad that could actually get. It could wipe everything out. But more than likely, we're going to see economic collapse, hyperinflation, and central bank digital currencies, universal basic income, the whole Great Reset agenda, because I think what we're seeing now with everything that's going on is what they are working up to, and it's all one big plan to bring us into that situation. So I think that we're going to deal with. So look at your neighbors, though, and try to figure out, what would they do in this situation? What if this happens? What if that happens? How your neighbors react? Are they going to be an asset, or are they going to be a threat? And depending on the situation, you need to make plans either way. But if they're going to be a threat, you definitely need to make plans for that threat, because your neighbors are right across the road, right to the left, to the right, to the rear, and they can take you out very, very quickly if they want to. And they got an eye on your home. They can watch when you leave, when you go, get your patterns down, and they can break in and steal your things and things like that. So you need to think about that, think about your security. And if you have a good neighbor that will actually watch your home, protect your home when you're gone, you can protect their home. If you can have a community watching your area, if you have good neighbors, good community, that's great. Here, a lot of people family lives in one location. So if you have, a large family that might live in one location, that's great. A lot of times, way back 150 years ago, the family lived on this land, had a larger farm, and they had children. Those children had children, and they all just moved right there on the farm. So now, what used to be, a large family farm, you may have a large family living there with 10, 15 homes, all family and all related. That's a prepper group in of itself right there. You have that blood kin that will help you stay bonded, help you defend each other because you're kin. It's not always the case, but if that is the case, you have a large family unit all around you, you have a ready-made community, ready-made survival group, and you'd be more likely to help each other work together if you actually are family. Cousins, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, parents, things like that. If you have that group right there, it's the best prepper group, in my opinion, that you can get. All people talk about, MAGs, mutual assistance groups, and things like that. And that's great. However, the best one, in my opinion, is actually family. If you're related, if you're a kin, you're going to stand up for each other, you're going to help each other, and it's going to be great. In most cases, it's going to be a lot better situation in most cases than just moving somewhere where you're not kin to anyone, you don't know anyone, and your neighbors are on drugs, they have bad reputations, they're not prepping, their own welfare, their own food stamps. You're watching your property right now, probably thinking, how can I steal his shit? Take it to the pawn shop and sell that. So like I said, look at your neighbors, figure out if they're prepping or not. Most probably aren't. But look and see if they're raising gardens, they have chickens, they have chicken tractors, they have greenhouses and things like that. They're planting fruit trees, and just how they generally live. Talk to your neighbors and try to figure out, where they stand, and try to figure out how they will react to certain situations, to what if situations, and plan accordingly. But anyways, if you liked the video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, go to my website, Creekmore.com, and check that out. There's hundreds of articles there, and they're all free to read, and it covers food storage, homesteading, defense, pretty much everything you can think about and need to know about prepping and survival is on my website. Like I said, hundreds of articles on that website. So check that out. Be sure to check out my books at Amazon.com and at Barnes & Noble. Thumbs up. Thanks for watching the Creekmore Background. I'll see you all in the next video, hopefully.